Okay, welcome to the April meeting of the Citizens Traffic Commission. For the benefit of Bob Nieburoff, who is here to talk about Regency at Yartley. I don't know if you see these people in the same way I do, but Marie Pantalone is here. Jean Bray is our recording secretary. Arthur Cohn is a member of the commission. Catherine Calabria and Keller Arnold. We're missing a few people, which I hope will join us shortly. But in the meantime, Bob, did you want to wait for Mark Feller, or did you want to go ahead and?
Apparently he's in, I think, because I see Mark, I see a telephone there. What's that mean?
Yeah.
He's on the phone?
Yeah, he was under the impression that this was, I just called him and told him that he can get in through Zoom. So he may be trying to do that now.
Okay. Did you give him the numbers?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in through Zoom right now.
All righty. Okay.
In any event, I'm on the phone. If I get
All
in,
right.
I'll hang up the phone.
Okay.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay, I think
So
I'm
Bob, did you
joined with audio.
want to start?
Sure. I want to say good evening to everybody. My name is Bob Nemiroff. I am a resident of Regency at Yartley in the carriage homes, along with Mark Feller, who is with us this evening as well. Mark and I are both two of the 6 members of what we call the Regency at Yartley Traffic Light Committee. And just by way of a little background, that committee was formed last summer. And our primary motivation in forming the committee was one of safety. We foresaw the day that is coming in the not too distant future when the homes on the carriage house side of Big Oak Road are going to be complete. I believe at this point there's only about 30 left to be built. And the construction on the other side of Big Oak Road, Yardley Woods, is moving along at a rapid pace, although I don't know how much longer it will be before that development is completed. We got together for the purpose of trying to convince the township to join us in convincing PennDOT ultimately that we would like to have a traffic light installed at the intersection of Big Oak Road and Fern Drive on the carriage house side, Big Oak Road, and Budney Drive on the Yardley Woods side. We made contact with the Board of Supervisors. I personally spoke with Dr. Weiss and provided him and the other board members with a narrative of our objectives that was prepared by Mark Feller, which Mark can speak to in a few minutes. We provided that narrative to Ginny, along with photographs that accompanied that narrative. And I guess our objective is twofold: the installation of the traffic light and also some sidewalk improvements, particularly along the side of Big Oak Road. I guess that would be the north side of Big Oak Road, running east from the intersection at Budney and Fern up to towards Oxford Valley Road. As you may or may not know, the Regency at Yardley on the north side of Big Oak Road contains certain amenities, including a clubhouse, tennis courts, swimming pools, etc. And currently, there is no safe way for the residents on the carriage house side to safely cross Big Oak Road by foot to access those amenities. Conversely, for those residents residing on the north side of Big Oak Road in the Regency development of single homes, there's no safe means of access by foot to cross over Big Oak Road to get to the walking path, the public walking path that runs behind the carriage houses. So we initially went to the township. Dr. Weiss advised that I contact your commission, which I did. And Ginny has been very helpful and accommodating. And we had hoped to obtain an audience with your commission, which is why we're here tonight. And basically, we are hoping to learn from your commission, get a recommendation from your commission as to the next steps that you would advise for us to take. And we would hope that we would have your support in doing so in connection with our objectives. Mark, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just thanks, Bob. Just that we have cars, we have three categories of users of Big Oak. We have cars, pedestrians, and cyclists. I happen to be all three. Some people are only two, but taking a left turn out of Fern onto Big Oak can be pretty treacherous, especially on a weekend. And you have a lot of traffic and cars are going at a pretty fast clip, typically around, my estimate is about 45 miles an hour. It's hard to pull out, especially for some of the older folks who live in this development. Certainly people trying to cross Big Oak are taking their life in their hands. There are some people who do it, but if they were to trip on the way across, it would be all over. And I do a lot of biking, and I know the township has talked at least about being very cyclist friendly with paths. It is treacherous to pull out and take a left turn onto Big Oak, which is the direction I have to head in, because heading right towards Oxford Valley and Big Oak, that intersection is sort of comparable to Roosevelt Boulevard, I think. So I take a left, and when you're on a bike and you have these toe clips for your, in the pedals, you need extra time to maneuver that left turn. So it's very, very dangerous. You have to wait until there's a really big gap in the traffic. So, what we're concerned about is that there really is no accommodation for pedestrians and cyclists on Big Oak at all. It is extremely dangerous. And we have these new developments. We have the Yartley Woods, and more people are moving in. They're continuing to build new townhouses or carriage houses in Regency. So the population is going to continue to increase. And then we are concerned about Wegmans. I think most of us over here support that development, but we do think that it is going to generate significant amount of additional traffic on Big Oak for people heading over to Route 1 or 295 coming out of that new Wegmans development. So that I know is maybe a year and a half down the road, but it is a concern. But the memorandum that we prepared, the one that's addressed to the township commissioners that Bob sent, I think otherwise sums up our views on things. And there are also some higher definition and color photographs that Bob sent to Ginny a little while ago that can give you an idea of the layout of that intersection, although it doesn't reflect the volume of traffic. It happened to be taken at a time when there was no traffic. But anyway, so that's pretty much where we are.
Ginny,
Thank you, Mark. I just want to, if I could just interrupt, I just want to note that Supervisor Lewis has joined us. He's our liaison. And I had a question. I don't know, either Bob or hi, John. Bob or Mark. Did you, when you were purchasing your home, did you have any conversations with the developer about, the fact that, hey, we're over here and the clubhouse is way over there? Like, did they say anything to you about that situation?
When I purchased my home, which was approximately 2 years ago, I only dealt with the business representatives of the developer in connection with issues like that, and they really did not have a lot of answers for us. The issue became more acute in our eyes last summer as we saw how rapidly the homes were being constructed, and the projection for completion, which I believe is about a year or a year and 4 months from now. And the one thing that I really wanted to emphasize or re-emphasize with regard to the safety aspect of our objectives is the Regency development on both sides of the Big Oak Road. As I'm sure you're probably aware, is a 55 and older development. And people who qualify in that age group tend not to be the most fleet of foot as they age. And I say that with all due respect because I include myself in that category. So, you know, we're particularly sensitive to the safety aspects of that roadway, in large part because of the age group of the residents that are going to reside on both sides of that road.
Right.
Ginny, I do see your point that you're sort of getting at. We bought our carriage house from a woman who had just lost her husband. So we didn't deal with the developer at all. We dealt with an individual who was selling their carriage house. You know, until you live in a place for a while and you start using it and you engage in different kinds of activities and different kinds of, you know, you go in different directions, you don't realize the full advantage and disadvantage of a particular location. And, you know, so a lot of these things have become apparent as we are gathering experience living.
Right. And I think as I explained to Bob and of course I've sent all the materials you've sent me, I've circulated to the other commission members. And as we discussed previously, at the time Regency at Yartley was being built, we, the commission, were very active in terms of pushing for sidewalks and other things, and we're told, you know, that the developer could not be. There was a settlement agreement on the property, and the developer could not be forced to, you know, put in sidewalks or any of these things. So that was kind of set in stone, and has been for a while. That you know, the developer could not be.
Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, one interesting point is that settlement that you referred to with Residents Against Matrix, known as RAM, involved the creation of a fairly substantial escrow account that is dedicated to infrastructure improvements in this immediate area. So there is some funding that was designed to maybe even cover this kind of improvement. So, you know, it may be a factor in the process. I don't know.
And let me elaborate on that a little bit. I have read that agreement carefully, and I can represent to you that there really is no legal impediment to our objectives because of the way that agreement is worded. There was a requirement that for any use of the escrowed funds, the funds were escrowed originally for the purpose of contributing towards the replacement of the bridge that goes over I-95.
Right.
And the agreement provides that if those funds are not used for that purpose, which they weren't, RAM, the organization that's identified in the agreement, has a right to be consulted about how those. But there's no clear-cut impediment to the objectives that we've laid out with respect to a traffic light and sidewalks by virtue of that agreement.
You know, Jenny, one other point, then I'll be quiet, is again, getting to the point that you were alluding to. We're a very dense community, as you know, on both sides of Big Oak, and there's the Yardley Woods development, which is dense, and then there's another development just closer to the bridge. I don't even know the name of that one, just down the street from us. So we're very, very
That's probably in
dense.
Middletown.
That could
It's
be.
in Middletown.
That's actually in Middletown. All right.
Middletown.
But you know, we're paying a lot of real estate taxes coming out of these developments. And I don't think they're putting a huge burden on the township. So I think a lot of the residents think, we're making a significant contribution. There continues to be carriage houses built, and the units at Yardley Woods continue to be built. So, there's a good deal of money being generated from this development.
One question I have,
Go ahead.
and relates to this, is do you think there is widespread support, and I'm not just talking about on your side, but on the original side? I would think that's something worth exploring, because if the benefits can be, if most of the residents can be persuaded of the benefits, it would be easier probably to get something like that done. You see what I'm saying? In other words, are the people in the original section of Regency, are they clamoring for being able to have sidewalks over there and so forth and so on?
I can address that. We anticipated.
Can I say something first, though? I think there's
Sure.
a difference between a safety issue and a convenience issue. So, like, I think the safety issue is, to me, a little bit of a different box, because that's something that's like a public issue that we have to deal with however we deal with it. There may be other things in sort of the wish list that fall more into, that's kind of between you and the developer or something like that. But I don't know. I don't know if the list is long enough that we need to bifurcate it, because I worry a great deal about the safety. I mean, the last thing in the world I would want is for someone coming out of there to get T-boned on Big Oak Road and hurt seriously, for someone crossing the street to get hit, anybody, especially an elderly person, but anybody. To me, that's first and foremost. I mean, just to me. I mean, I think accessing the pool and tennis courts, you have a right to do that because you're paying a homeowner's fee. So I think that's something that has to be discussed as well. But I think as it comes to state laws and traffic lights and how things work, the safety issue is going to be in a separate box. That just seems like, to me, that seems like it would be, versus other things.
Safety is without question our primary motivation. I think convenience might come from some of the safety improvements that we'd like to see occur. To address Ginny's question about support, we anticipated that as an issue, and we recently circulated a survey to all of the residents of the Regency community. The responses are still coming in, and I'm the one collecting the responses. I can tell you I've received about 25 or 30 responses to this point, and we have yet to receive a single response in opposition to these objectives. And the vast majority of the responses are wholeheartedly supportive of what we're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this has to, what happens here is going to have to go through PennDOT. Is this correct, Marie? It's going to have to go through PennDOT to know if there's a need for put a traffic light here. I mean, there's a warrant. I don't know. You have to have traffic count and all this stuff, but there isn't. There's nothing we can do. But
Right.
there is. It's not about. It's about PennDOT. About traffic and PennDOT. That's what this is about.
Right. My boss, Joe Fiacco, is also connected here through his phone. So if I say anything wrong, Joe, please correct me. But yeah, I believe in this section of Big Oak Road is a state highway. So yes, and I know that
Actually,
always.
Marie,
Is it?
it's a township road.
Oh, is it a township road on this section?
That stretch that's called Robert Sugarman Way, which runs from Oxford Valley. I don't know how far down it goes. That is actually a township road. I was surprised too, because the rest of Big Oak is a state road.
Right. So.
Can you guys?
Oh, there's Joe. I already
Yeah,
screwed it up, Joe.
That's all right. Now, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize.
Yes.
I'm on the road. I didn't intend to be, and I'm in a new car, so it's not even like I have my phone hooked up. But yeah, it's a really strange situation there. The state highway starts at the signalized intersection and it stops at Old Oxford Valley Road. So that little stub is a state highway. From there on in, it's a township road. But PennDOT controls traffic signals on all roads. So even if it was the intersection of two township roads, we would still need PennDOT's approval before we could put a traffic signal in.
Right. We understand that. Of course, the township, I think, would be the party that would submit the form to PennDOT. We're familiar with the form that gets submitted. It has a list of attachments, and I can't figure out whether every attachment is required or it's just to tell them which ones are being attached.
Well, just so the people on the call know, or the Zoom meeting, I guess, that SAFE was asked by the township to take a look at what can be done to accommodate pedestrians in that area. And we're in the data collection mode, and we almost have all of our data collected, and we're going to be looking at the different alternatives. And so we can confirm, we should be able to confirm that if there's going to be enough traffic out there to warrant a traffic light. And if there isn't, then PennDOT wouldn't give us an approval for a traffic light, even if we wanted one.
Hey, Joe.
Joe,
We'll look into that.
Joe, this is Keller.
Joe, go ahead, Keller.
I guess, actually, I'm glad to hear. I didn't know that you guys are already looking at it because I was concerned because there's still construction going on. And then Wegmans is a couple years out that somebody was going to say, let's just wait till everything settles down and everything is full. But at the same time, somebody could get hurt any day. So, I mean, the idea of having a traffic study 2.5 years from now doesn't sound very appealing. But I guess when you're doing this study, Joe, are you studying strictly current conditions, or are you trying to think about what it might look like when the homes are built out and when Wegmans comes in?
Yeah, we did counts recently, so it's unfortunately we didn't do it pre-COVID, but we do. But I think personally, I think we're close to probably 90% when it comes into daily volumes that are out there. So we have that, and what we plan on doing is projecting the future volumes from the development when it's fully built out. So we will be analyzing the future conditions based on background growth, the different developments that we know of, and the full build out of the project at hand.
When do you expect to finish this and have a report?
It shouldn't be we should be able to have our preliminary findings in the next month or 2 months, maybe something like that. It's not too far out. We're literally just getting done with the data collection, and then we're gonna put that up with the physical, whatever constraints and what have you. And we'll see what we can come up with, and then make some recommendations to the township based on what we find.
Okay.
Joe, did I hear you correctly? Did you say that you think the traffic right now is we're still in the COVID era, that it's as much as 90% of what it would be if there were no COVID?
That's just my gut feeling, because living and driving in this part of Pennsylvania, early, if you would have asked me back in May or June, it's like being in a different world, like being in a movie set. But now I think, I'm seeing the volumes back. They're definitely not back to where they were, but I think they're back to the point where I think when it comes to traffic signal warrants, we'll be able to tell if we're going to be in the ballpark where we could even consider a traffic signal.
Will that take into account not only the Wegmans development, but I believe there's a 200-unit townhouse development going in with Wegmans?
Yes, we have actually reviewed the Wegmans traffic study, and we've been involved in that. So we're aware of how many trips we think are going to be coming by, on Big Oak Road.
And when your assessment is completed, would it be possible to share that with our committee?
Well, I assume that's going to be what the township wants to do. Again, we're working for the township, and if they tell us to share with you, we'll certainly do it. And I wouldn't be surprised I'd be surprised if they don't ask us to share with you. Just like we're on this call to talk about the signal at Big Oak and Makefield, so I think the township's very in tune with getting your input, with traffic issues.
Great.
Yeah, I can speak for the Board of Supervisors and that, the traffic study would be made available to the entire public. And I think a couple of things Joe's can highlight. when the study's done is there may be alternative traffic calming measures that might meet the muster of PennDOT, that might solve certain situations. So there may be alternatives that we haven't thought of yet, or that they haven't thought of yet. And I can say that based on prior stuff that we've worked with SAFE, there are times we find interesting different ways of approaching the problem and getting good solutions. So I'm sure that if it's not light warranted, there might be something that could be done that could help address concerns in the area. And I'm pretty sure that we may have something in that area that might work, but I don't want to speak for Joe. But there's also standardized models for like how many traffic visits are going to occur, or how much traffic is going to come from the mixed use and Wegmans concept, and then also the remaining buildings, so that that data should be relatively close when it's complete, I think.
Yeah, John, that's what I was going to
yeah.
say. That it's not uncommon for citizens to come forward with sort of like the answer, like we want a traffic light, like you had to decide what the answer is. But what we really need to think is, what is the actual problem that you're saying, like turning left out of front, like actually the problem, and let SAFE do their work and come forward on the answer is a traffic light, because that's who has to decide that. But the best thing that we can do is clearly articulate exactly what the issues are, because that gives them something to work with.
Yeah, I always joke that Lower Makefield has more amateur traffic engineers than any other municipality, and everybody had a solution. Everybody had a solution to the same.
By the way, there are two other facilities that I don't think we mentioned. There were two buildings there on the north side of Big Oak. One of them is I think it's a childcare facility that was just built. That'll probably have some additional traffic going in and out. And then the Capital Healthcare facility is supposedly going to be becoming more active. Let me ask this: do you put or have you ever considered doing a signal with a blinking red light or blinking yellow light? I've seen those. There's one in Newtown Township that I come across all the time. I forget which road it's on, but it's sort of back behind Newtown Grant. So everyone coming in one direction has a yellow flashing light, and coming in the other direction, they have a red light, so they come to a stop. But for example, if you had a flashing signal there that could be green all the time, except when a pedestrian maybe wants to cross, push a button, or there's a car sitting on a switch in the road where maybe it would signal a stop. Is that treated as the same as a regular traffic light for purposes of PennDOT's review? Do you know?
Yes. Anything with a flashing light is considered a signal. It doesn't have to be red, yellow, green. Like even if you had like a curve warning sign with flashing yellow lights to call your attention to it, that is an actual signal permit from PennDOT, and it would have to be approved by PennDOT before it could be installed. So that's an example. So what you're describing is there's what can be considered as a rapid rectangular flashing beacon, which that is something that is relatively new, but it's when you don't have an intersection, but you have a pedestrian crossing there. If the person pushes the button, the rapid rectangular flashing beacon flashes, and the motor vehicle law says you have to stop and yield to that person crossing in the crossing. So it acts just like a traffic signal, and we're seeing more and more of them around, for pedestrian crossings. So that's something that can be considered. Mm-hmm. But again, it'll have to be approved by PennDOT ultimately if that's what we recommend.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing you mentioned with a flashing yellow and a flashing red, that's kind of like you'll see that when you have a stop sign and you want to call attention to the people on the main road of the stop condition, you flash yellow for them, but the people who have to stop, they get a flashing red. So that's common. It's been around a long time, but it's that would be the purpose of that type of device.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, just a couple quick questions. Does PennDOT make any, in terms of approving warrants, does it affect their decision at all, the fact that this is 55 and older on both sides of the road?
I don't want to speak for PennDOT, but anybody in engineering should definitely consider the conditions. You know, if you're at a hospital or you're, you know, at a school with younger children, whatever it is, we as engineers should take that into consideration. So I don't want to speak for PennDOT, but I would hope they would.
One of the things in the documents that Bob and his group submitted, it seems to me there's, if you add in future development, we're talking about roughly 1,000 homes. Is that about right? If I add up all the between what's already on both sides. The reason I bring up the numbers, that number, is that a similar situation happened years ago on another well-traveled road, Stony Hill Road. And there was a problem. There was a development on both sides, not this type of development, just a regular development called, I think, Hidden Oaks it's called. And for years, there was a problem with people being able to get onto Stony Hill. And they did eventually put a traffic light there on Stony Hill. So I'm just wondering, you know, is there a certain number of homes that need to be there? Because, and also, is there any difference made between a light that automatically turns, you know, red and green, and a light that, say, would be green all the time for Big Oak? It would only be red when someone was either a pedestrian or a car, you know, approached the intersection. Like, is the warrant for that as rigorous, or whatever the word is, as for just a regular traffic light?
To answer your question, there's a number of different warrants that PennDOT looks at, and it would have to meet one of them. I think there's like 11 warrants that can be considered. But relative to the second part of that question, any traffic signal that goes in today is pretty much guaranteed to be done with some sort of detection, so that you don't have green time being wasted. If there is justification for a traffic light, it's being done at the cost of the people traveling on Big Oak Road. So both from a safety standpoint and just from burning, you know, extra fossil fuels, you don't want to stop traffic on the main line unless it's justified, because you're going to be stopping people, and they're going to, you know, be polluting, and there's rear end crashes that go up. So those type of things go into the warrant system. And if a system does go in, you can pretty much count on it. It's going to be traffic. It's going to be based with detectors that know that a pedestrian wants to cross or a vehicle comes up from the side street.
Mm-hmm.
So
John,
it really won't affect it. It's the same signal warrant.
It sounds like we're not going to really know the results of this study until probably sometime in June. We are having a meeting in June. I think it's June 14th. Between now and then, do you have any suggestions for the residents in terms of what they should be doing? Or?
Well, if they could make a list of things that they're aware of that SAFE might not be aware of, that would be good for them to provide that to us. And then we can keep that in mind as we're looking at the various alternatives to provide for pedestrian movements in that area.
Okay. So John, how would that work? Would the residents, we ask the residents to provide that to us, and then we provide it to the township, or how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, you could do it as however you want to gather it. There should be one person to gather it. If you want to receive all of it and then I can pass it on to Kurt, that's fine. If you want to curate it or however you want to do it, that's more than fine. And then Kurt will pass it on to Joe, probably on the same email.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to tell people to email you, that's fine. If you want them to email me, that's fine. However you want to do that. But the idea here is that, you know, I take it, Mr. Nemiroff's survey will be completed probably between now and June, as well as the any other resident stuff. So yeah, if we put a deadline of like, I don't know, end of third week of May for folks to send, comments, then we can gather them all up and send them in. And then Joe would have at least 3 weeks to review them. Does that sound like a good idea or?
Okay.
Yeah, again,
It
and
sounds like a good idea to me.
suggestion is, like I say, my suggestion is those things that aren't obvious to us. I mean, people who live there, they're living it, and the big concerns that they have, it may not be obvious to somebody like myself that doesn't live there. So those are the things that might help us, clear the picture that otherwise we may not pick up on.
We can do that.
For example, just one example, someone trying to exit Fern, how long do they have to wait before it's clear in both directions? Is it 1 minute? Is it 30 seconds? Is it 5 minutes? Detail like that.
Well, when we gather the data, we'll be able to estimate that. So hopefully, and well, again, if what our estimates don't seem to be in comparison with reality, then maybe it would warrant another look. But we can come up with the volumes and speeds and figure out what we estimate the average person during the rush hour would have to wait to get out of there.
Okay. So Bob, do you think
Yeah.
by the third week in May, you could have the results of your survey and then the things that Joe was talking about, things that residents living there would notice that perhaps they would not, the engineers would not?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to help answer the question about the type of information that we could be looking for, like for instance, if there's a Boy Scout troop that has to cross the street once a month, maybe it's a big group of 30 kids that are crossing the street, that we happen to not see during the data collection period that we were out there for. That's the type of things and events that would be very helpful. As far as like the estimates of vehicular delay, we can kind of calculate that. We can estimate that. But other things in the community, certain events in the community, or just particular aspects like that we might not be aware of.
We do have a lot of geese that, sometimes. Okay.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm going to have to wrap this up because we have several other things and we only have an hour for today. So it sounds like we have somewhat of a game plan here that in the next few weeks, you'll send me and I will copy the commission the results of your survey and also the things that Marie was talking about and Joe was talking about in terms of things that are happening in the community, community-wide, not just on the south side of Big Oak, but on the north side too. And some of the things that are going on at the community center that, people naturally want to participate in, even if they're on the other side of Big Oak. And maybe they don't have access to cars, or they don't want to spend, 20 minutes waiting at an intersection to go to their own community clubhouse. So that kind of detail would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Oh, you're
Great
welcome.
advice.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Okay. Good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Marie and Joe, I'll turn it over to you. You're going to talk about the Makefield Big Oak intersection.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, okay. I have a presentation, so I don't know if you want to hand over hosting responsibilities to me, and I'll share my screen.
Yes, go ahead.
You'll be able to share your screen.
Whoop. Oh, there I am. I'm sorry. Okay.
all right.
All
Yep.
right. So we were asked to come today to share our progress with the traffic signal project at Big Oak and Makefield Road. So I'm here just to update you on this project. So you may remember, so the township received 2 Yartley grants in June of 2017. They were set to expire this month, but an extension was granted. And the new expiration date is June 30th of 2022. And we feel that we'll complete the project before then. The 2 Yartley projects, one was this project, the Big Oak Road, Makefield Road intersection. The second one was Yartley, Newtown, and Mirror Lake. That's another signal project that I think that we're going to update the board on that project as well. But this presentation right here is just to talk about Big Oak Road and Makefield Road.
Okay.
As part of the grant, there was $295,000. It was estimated for the signal upgrades for the hardware and for the design and construction. So the maximum reimbursement from PennDOT was $260,000. $35,000 is being provided by the township. This is the 1976 signal plan. This is the original, signal plan for the intersection of Big Oak and Makefield. And you'll see in this next sign, this is the new signal permit that we're going to get approval for. I'm going to walk you through some of the changes of how we went from the 1976 plan to the plan today. Firstly, there's new signal equipment that's being added. The intersection right now has a single mast arm. We're going to add 4 new mast arms. So it'll be a mast arm for each approach of the intersection. The intersection has loop detection. That's being upgraded to video detection. Preemption capabilities are also being added to the signal. The controller cabinet, which you see in the picture, is just posted on the signal pole. They're not that small anymore. The signal cabinets now are much larger. That's going to be placed at the northeast corner of the intersection in the new design. Also, new pedestrian signals are also planned. The intersection's also getting new roadway striping. There's going to be a new crosswalk on the west leg of the intersection. The stop bar for the left turn lane on the northbound approach is also being pulled back. The reason that stop bar is being pulled back is to help facilitate the eastbound right turning, like bus traffic. We were told that sometimes it's so tight there that when a bus turns to make that right turn, they're taking out some of the equipment on that corner. So with pulling back the stop sign, it just gives the larger vehicles a little bit more room to maneuver.
Marie, could you just orient us a little bit? For
sure,
example, where Charles Bame is on this drawing, where St. John's is, just to give us a feel.
So St. John's is the northeast corner of this signal. You'll see after the text box, it says lane delineation. You see the gas pumps, that's the gas station there. Mm-hmm. The roadway running north-south is Makefield Road, and running east-west is Big Oak.
So Bame is way off to the left off your page.
So, I'm sorry, what?
I said Charles Bame would be off to the left off your page.
Yeah.
Yes.
To the west and in the north.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. That new crosswalk on the west leg, that doesn't go to anything, though. There's no sidewalk or anything over there.
There isn't. And because the project, the purpose of the grant is not just to update signal equipment, it's also to update pedestrian facilities. So later in the presentation, you'll see, I was going to talk about how PennDOT actually wanted to put 4 crosswalks at this intersection. But but when we put these crosswalks in, we'll put the associated ADA ramps. There'll be a landing pad, but the sidewalk is a little difficult to place, particularly on that southwest corner because of the slope and the grades along the south side
It's
big.
one of the yards where it like comes right down to the road, like it's just a big hump.
Right.
One question, because I drive through this intersection constantly. The control box, because there's a guy out there who does the button and turns everything red so the kids can cross, you know. So that, I guess that's a Pennsbury employee. I don't know who that person is, but I guess they would still do that during school hours. Would the walk, don't walk stuff be disabled and he would control it?
I'm not aware that he would still have that capability. Joe, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, I can answer that. The box that is on the gas station property, the people you see in doing that should be the police officers. So they've been doing that historically over the years to help accommodate these school children going through the intersection. The police actually wanted us to put the new controller on that same corner so that they can do what they've been doing for all these years. But we explained to them that the new boxes are so big, it has to sit on its own platform. And if you know the site, there's just not enough room on the gas station property for us to put a new controller cabinet taking up space that they really don't have. So it's going to be on the corner of St. John's, and they can still do it. Hopefully they won't have to do it. But the ability will be there for them to go over to that corner where the big box will be and make the manual changes if it's necessary. We're hoping it won't be necessary.
The guy who does it's in like a regular truck and he's wearing a hazard vest, like a crossing guard. If he's a police officer, he's not in uniform. I don't think he is.
Okay.
I mean, I will tell you, I have seen as many as 20 or 30 kids in groups walking down. I mean, there's a lot of kids. So in the mornings when school is, people are coming in the afternoons when they're leaving, I mean, he turns the whole intersection red, everything's red, and all the kids cross, and he tells them to cross, and then he lets go, I guess, and they don't. So I just think if it's going to be, I guess you'd either have to coordinate with Pennsbury to understand who that guy is, or I don't know, do we normally let school kids at that age, and these are middle school kids, I guess, because they're mostly going to probably Penwood or one of the schools. I don't think I guess they could be walking all the way down to Makefield. They might be elementary kids. I don't know. Do they usually cross unaccompanied? I don't know.
So I think that usually the crossing guard, relies on the capability of that pedestrian time. So they're pressing the button, they're seeing the walk symbol come on, and they're hurrying the kids along within the pedestrian period. Okay. And to just oversee the kids crossing. I think it's a little bit more unusual that someone is physically manipulating the green time of the signal to get kids. I mean, I don't think that happens as often. And
that's what he's doing, because I've definitely been at that light when all the lights were red and the kids were crossing. I'm pretty sure that's what he's doing. But anyway, it's something to look at, because there's definitely a human there, and he definitely clicks the little thing, and he does not look like a police officer to me. Not dressed anyway, but.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, again, if somebody is controlling it, I hope they are trained appropriately, because if somebody's controlling a traffic signal and they're not very good at it, obviously you can cause more harm than good. So I was on the impression from the township police safety officer that it was the township police that did that. I wasn't aware that there was anybody else controlling the signal.
I don't know. I just think I guess we should find out, or you should find out, to make sure that whoever that is doesn't show up to work one day and just have the whole thing gone.
Would the chief be able to determine who that is? Who that is at the intersection, who's doing that?
Yeah, we'll reach out to the police department and see if there is indeed somebody else given approval to do that, and we'll take it from there.
And if there isn't, but somebody's doing it anyway, then I guess that's a conversation to have with that somebody and the people he works for or she works for.
Right, we'll find out who that is, and the police department can take appropriate action.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, so we talked about the crosswalk on the west leg, the stop bar adjustment. Also, we're making the westbound lane, we're delineating a lane, striping a lane out. Right now, there's an 18-foot wide lane as you approach that intersection.
Actually, Marie, that's already done. That's when PennDOT overlaid that road. We had this plan you have up right now was implemented already.
Oh, the striping's already done.
Right.
Oh,
So it
I'm
shows
sorry.
up in our,
Okay.
we knowing that it was overlaid, the township asked us to take a look if there's anything that could be done to make it better while they're overlaying it. And this was the concept that we came up with, and they actually made us change the permit plan. But what this plan does here is keeps people closer to the double yellow line. So if they do stop to make a left, you can get around them if you need be.
Right.
Plus a wide lane is not necessarily good for anybody if it's too wide.
Right. So also planned at the intersection are, the ADA improvements. There's 6 new ADA curb ramps that are planned at the intersection. Those ramps are being designed using a new type of survey technology. In the picture is the camera that's used to pick up the slope and elevation of the existing curb ramps so that they can be compared to PennDOT standards. And if they're not meeting standards, be updated to reflect the new standards.
About that.
Also, the no turn on red signage, a modification to that traffic restriction is also planned so that the no turn on red would only be active when there are pedestrians present. So it'd be during school arrival and dismissal periods primarily.
But is that just based upon the observation of the driver, or is there some kind of electric eye or something that picks up the fact that they're pedestrians?
Now, I think what we're probably going to happen, again, this is all under PennDOT's control. They're going to ask us when our children walk into school back and forth, and we would likely get hours of the restriction.
I see.
I'd assume that's the same time that these school zone lights are flashing. Because when they lower the speed limit to 15 minutes at 50 miles an hour, those are flashing. And then during the school day, they're not flashing and then they come back on. So I would suspect it would match up with that.
Right.
Because the school zone ends, 50 or not even 100 yards probably from that intersection. It's the school zone.
Other improvements that we considered at the intersection was delineating a separate left turn lane on the southbound approach. It's a 33-foot cartway there. So, you could have, 3 lanes of 10 to 11 to 12 feet. The problem is that there's an overhead lighting post. You'll see it in the bottom picture. If you were to create the 3 lanes, the one lane is right smack up against that pole, and it would be a hazard. Also, if you stripe the cartway that way, you start to create alignment issues for the people crossing Big Oak Road to go north and south. So, and then lastly, the traffic demand for that left turn just really isn't that great anyway. So we were kind of solving a problem that doesn't really exist.
Yeah, that's not really surprising because, I've spoken a good deal with Annie Cooper, who owns the gas station there. She's a friend of mine. And because I asked her, where's this turn lane we're talking about? She said, well, I don't know, but the only place I see that makes sense to have a turn lane would be coming in this picture, coming from the east, headed west, and then turning south. She said a lot of people come through here to go get on Route 1. She said, so when the traffic backs up, it's on Big Oak headed.
Okay. Yeah, the left turn volume is a little heavier for that movement on Big Oak, but there isn't sufficient cartway to put it, there's 18 feet there. You can't put the 2 lanes in 18 feet. So people make it 2 lanes, even though it's not really 2 lanes a lot of times. Right. Yeah.
Well, that's
why we striped it.
Yeah. But she said that's where the traffic is. If there's a traffic backup, it's people going down to Route 1.
Yeah, so like Joe said, with the new striping, people might feel a little bit more comfortable, to do a runaround of somebody who's waiting to make the left turn. It kind of encourages them to get a little closer to the double yellow line and allow for more room to people to skirt around. So this is what we were talking before about, PennDOT originally had wanted the crosswalks on all 4 legs of the intersection. So the south leg was also being considered for a crosswalk. So in this next slide, in talking about the pedestrian access, you can see, we know where the schools are and we know where the residential areas are. So we had expressed to PennDOT, that the need is to get the residents back and forth to the school. So it's crossing Big Oak Road, which is, the higher priority over crossing Makefield. So, and then they ultimately agreed. So the 2 crossings, the one on the north leg and the east leg, will remain. And then they're going to add the one on the west leg. And I forgot to mention, those crosswalks are also being upgraded with higher visibility, to become a higher visibility crosswalk.
Marie,
What do you
Marie,
mean?
can you put that last slide up?
Which last side?
The last, can you back up 1 slide?
Oh, you can see me now? Okay.
Yeah, I'm parked now. Sorry. That the bottom photo, you can see there's a residential property there, and PennDOT originally wanted us to put all 4 crossings, and that would have mandated that we put a sidewalk wrapping around that corner. So there's not enough right of way to get it done, and it was outside the scope of this improvement to go out and buy right of way for that kind of improvement. So PennDOT agreed that we will be satisfying the needs of the pedestrians, and you can see there's really no place for the pedestrians to go up either on that corner. So that's why PennDOT agreed to only allow us to only put 3 out of 4 crossings in.
Keller,
Yeah,
can you hear me?
yeah.
Keller, could you, we only have about 5 more minutes,
Mhm.
and I have a little emergency here. Could you finish up the meeting?
Sure.
Sure.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Maria, I have a question on your next page that you had gone to with the map. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, and I'm not 100% sure. Your southeast big circle of residential, I believe the kids that live there actually go to a school that's not on your picture. It's up above the word pedestrian. Penwood Middle School is up around the peak. But it's relevant because I think they're
still crossing. Yeah.
Yeah. The school you've circled is a little Catholic school, I think. I mean, kids go there, but those kids are coming in cars.
Okay.
Mostly. So what you don't see is up near the P in pedestrian is a huge middle school, and over near the A in Ariel is another huge middle school. All 3 are there. I think these kids, and somebody who knows more about Pennsbury zoning than I do, I think the kids in the big residential circle in the southeast are going up to the school where the P in pedestrian is, because I drive that road and there are hordes of them. I mean,
yeah,
going right through there. So I think that's where they go. But I think that's relevant because I believe the primary path for those kids is up Makefield, headed north from, the edge of the big circle up towards the letter P in pedestrian in your title. That's where the kids go. And then there's a crossing guard at the school that lets them go across Makefield. So they go up the right side, they go up the east side of Makefield on the sidewalk, and then they cross over into the school right in front of it, and there's a crossing guard there.
Oh, okay. All right. That makes sense.
So those kids don't cross Makefield, they just cross Big Oak. Mostly.
Right. They cross Big Oak. Yeah. And we did see that in the counts there. We saw that in the traffic volume counts, because that picks up pedestrians as well. And it was much heavier on that. I'm going to call it the crossing on the east leg, as opposed to the crossing on the north leg. So that makes sense. They're actually they're continuing to walk north.
Right.
And crossing over.
The way Pennsbury runs, I don't know if you're in the district, but the neighborhoods are zoned to elementary schools, and certain elementary schools feed certain middle schools. But it feels like from the traffic I see, whatever elementary school that is right there feeds Penwood. Because that's where you see the kids going.
Okay.
I don't see that many kids crossing over going to BAME. I don't see a lot of kids there.
Okay.
BAME is the school
Okay.
that's to your far to the west here that you've got circled.
Okay.
But yeah, that's so the key
Yeah,
thing is going to be getting kids
Right.
across Big Oak right
Mhm.
there.
All right. Mhm.
So our next steps are to, with the board's approval, to submit the signal permit plan, the updated plan. We're also working on the construction plan to go with the signal plan. I think Joe just remarked to me today that we'll probably submit the signal plan and get some preliminary feedback from PennDOT before we wrap up the construction plan. So, and that concludes the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for filling in, Marie.
Oh, my pleasure.
You did
I
a
was trying
great
to figure out
job.
how to,
Oh,
I'm trying
You
to figure,
did, you did a nice job.
thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you. All right. So I'm trying to figure out how do I hand the screen back to you? Do I hit new share
Or stop share.
or stop share?
There you go.
Oh,
There you go.
did I do it?
There
Okay.
you go. All right.
so Marie, on that one, maybe I just missed the end. What happens next?
So with the board's approval, I'm going to present this to the Board of Supervisors on Wednesday.
Okay.
And with their approval, we'll submit the new signal plan to PennDOT for their review and comment. We're concurrently working on the construction plan, but we're a little worried that, depending on what PennDOT says about the signal plan, we don't want to get too far into the weeds of the construction plan in case they comment on something that's going to change, like where conduit lies or some other construction detail. So we'll probably just submit the signal plan, get some preliminary feedback from PennDOT, but ultimately we'll have to submit the construction plan as well for their approval.
What kind of time frame do you think to get comments back and then prepare your construction plans?
I know that the PennDOT, the reviews for the traffic signals have been pretty quick, like within a couple weeks. And then, Joe, if you want to jump in, I think, I'm not sure how far along we are on the construction plan, but assuming all goes well, could we submit the whole package in 3 months?
That sounds good, Marie. PennDOT, just like townships, like 30 days is what they want to max out their review times in. Sometimes they're quicker than that. And we, what's the odds of us giving them a perfect drawing? So we'll
Right.
probably get some comments from them and go back and forth. So about 3 months sounds like a pretty good estimate, barring any, revealing problems that we're not aware of.
Mm-hmm.
All righty.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah. I know.
Okay.
It's what did you want to wrap this up or you want to
Well, I
doesn't
don't know. I mean, we never approved the minutes because we jumped straight into reading.
well, I think we better wait now till next time since he's not here. Let's wait with that till next time.
Okay, because I was just going to make a point that our last minutes, which we did approve, never got posted on the LMT site. And I was going to ask Jenny if she'd sent them through the office, but we've been having a hard time getting them posted. Even though
Send an email on that.
okay. And I don't know, Catherine, if you have anything from zoning or planning.
I'll make it quick. Not much to report from the Planning Commission. There are a couple sketch plans that have been submitted for their, just like, for a quick review before the developer does any kind of land development plans. One is near the Di Lorenzo pizza shop. There's that, that corner piece there, Yartley, Langhorne Road and Edgewood Road. So there's some plan for to convert the one building that's right at that shop corner into an ice cream store, and then the building behind it to convert that into a duplex residential unit. And then there are 2 new buildings that they're planning. I think one has 4 residential units and the other one has 5 residential units. So there was and I guess we'll be seeing in the future, maybe land development plans that will be circulated. And
I would expect that the traffic discussion on that one's probably going to be extensive. I'm just guessing.
yes, yeah. There was a little bit of that
We'll let that
discussion
play.
at the planning commission meeting, but the intent was just to have the sketch plans presented to the planning commission so they can have a gut check of, yes, are we going forward with this project or not? And then the other is by the artists, but new assisted living that's open now in Dobry Road. So the corner of Dobry Road and Oxford Valley Road, there is a planned medical building. It's the Bucks County Smiles Dental business. They have outgrown their space.
Is that where the house is now, or?
Yes, yeah. I don't think that house is occupied. I think it's been empty for a
No,
while.
that house I think is empty. I guess they're going to knock it down and build another. Okay.
Yes, yeah. The business is currently across from McCaffrey's, and they've outgrown.
There's something
They're-
else going in behind there too, on the other side of the.
There's a lot of like a new development.
Yeah, there's a new development
back there. Yeah. So again, they just want to throw some sketch plans in front of the planning commission to get a gut reaction of, would they even go forward with the project? So those are the two that I guess we'll, expect to see sometime in the future. And for the zoning hearing board, there was a request for an extension of the special use for the warehouse. If you guys remember, Shady Brook investors, one of their plans is if Wegmans doesn't go through, they were going to put the warehouse in their portion of the property. So that they had a 2-year an exception given for it would be good for 2 years. So if they don't do anything within 2 years, that special exception goes away.
With
So
the
they
Wegmans and the other stuff, there won't be any warehouse. There's no more room there.
That's right. But these are two different developers or two different owners that
Okay.
are, I guess the Shady Brook investors, originally they wanted to put a warehouse in there, but then the other developer came along and now it's a Wegmans. But they just want to make sure that if Wegmans doesn't happen, their special exception doesn't go away. So they ask for an
They don't want to
extension.
put a warehouse in there. That'd be a total waste for them.
Right.
That's the point.
Probably, yeah. They just want to make sure that their special exception
They want
doesn't
to
go
get
away.
us. They want to put us in a corner. That's what they wanted to do.
So they were
I would do
granted
the same thing if I were them. They got to protect their other option.
That's right. There are other options. Their plan B or their plan X, so whatever that plan is. So they did get their special exception extended to November of 2022. So that's it for Planning Commission and Zoning Hearing Board.
Okay. And I didn't have anything from the Board of Supervisors meeting that was really traffic related. So I don't have anything. And John, you had something?
John.
Last week, PennDOT approved a multimodal grant for $3 million for the traffic enhancements related to the mixed use property. So amazing lobbying and in terms of turnaround time with the state. So that the state will be subsidizing $3 million of the $6 million of improvements in the traffic related to Wegmans and mixed use facility.
Very good.
That's all I had.
Right. I think that's, I was just trying to see, Jenny did send out the minutes, so I guess I'm just going to ask, even though, did anybody have any changes to them?
I did not.
No.
Well, I did, I had one question, and that was whether John concurred with the fact that we should wait to do a traffic count at Big Oak, there by Regency on Big Oak. whether that statement was accurate or not, but I didn't hear back from her.
Okay.
And I
so we'll-
apologize for missing the beginning of the meeting. We had a family emergency today.
Okay, so I hate to go 2 months without having any approved minutes, but if you had questions and she hadn't answered them, then we probably should just wait.
Well, maybe John can tell us. Was that accurate, John, that statement that you agreed that traffic counts should wait?
Yes.
After
yeah.
the COVID pandemic?
Yes. Yeah. My thought was you want to wait until your traffic counts are right. But if Joe's saying 90% now, then that's fine. At least he can probably model that accurately.
That's what I said down here in under Regency, that's under speeding. I said, but believe we should wait till the COVID is over. Traffic counts.
But did Joe say earlier in today's meeting that he feels traffic's at 90% of what it was?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pre-COVID?
Yes.
And they
Yes.
also said that they were kind of also using projections in their analysis. So I'm
They
sure-
said they project whatever else they needed to
right.
make an assessment.
Marie, I think, did I hear you say that you're doing the traffic count in a couple of weeks?
We counted last week.
Oh,
We-
last week,
We
okay.
had put, so the cameras were out. The intersections have been counted. I haven't reviewed the data yet. I
Okay.
haven't. So
So, okay. So I guess the question is everybody comfortable approving these minutes so that we can tell Jenny we approve them, or are there outstanding edits? It doesn't sound like there's an edit if John's agreed that he.
I don't know if there's enough of us here. Is there?
1, 2,
There's three of
3,
us.
4, 5.
Well, they only got 3 of us. 3,
Were you here? Yeah.
4 of us. Well,
Four of us.
4 of us. I guess we could, if you want to, we can do it.
Yeah. So somebody make a motion to approve.
I'll
them.
motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll tell her we did that. That way those can get sent on as well. You know, John, I do this occasionally. I was on the LMT site just clicking through the commissions to see how old the minutes were, because it's kind of pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve of mine if commissions are having meetings and the minutes are not going up, because for a lot of people in the community, if they were going to try to check in, that's the only thing they had to look at. And so I know that we're at least one behind, because our February minutes are still not posted and they were approved in March. So I'm not sure the exact process, but I'll follow up with Jenny on that again. But not all the commissions meet regularly. So just because their minutes are 6 months old doesn't mean that they're behind, because that might have been their last meeting. But
Yeah, there's a few like that, but then there are the ones that meet, twice a month or once a month, and they should be relatively up to date.
Are supervisors planning to meet in person anytime soon, John?
I hope so. I have not heard anything about
Oh,
that.
okay.
I'm looking for. I'm fully vaccinated, so.
Yeah, well, so am I.
yeah, we're a member of the 2 vaccine 2 week club, right?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So,
It's
okay,
enough.
I think, do we have any, that's all we have unless there's any new business.
That's it.
Okay, then we'll adjourn.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All righty.
Good night.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night. Take care.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oops.